Hey YouTube! Got my award for my 1,000 subs. So thanks to everyone for that. That's cool. I was at 995 or something yesterday. So to celebrate, I didn't really think of very much to do, but I did look out my Schecter strat, which is possibly one of the more expensive ones I've got. Maybe, don't know. This should appeal to people who are your vintage Fender snobs and stuff like that. People who like expensive guitars, because Schecter are really expensive. I've not even seen one on eBay for years. This is Schecter, not as in Schecter, not Schecter Diamond series. They are very different. The name got bought over by somebody else. This is from the 80s when Schecter were a spare parts company for Fender. They made upgrade parts for Fenders, but they didn't actually make any whole guitars. I talked about this the other day in my bass video because I've got a couple of Schecter basses as well. So this is my Schecter Strat, which is made up of bits. They were all made up of bits, but they were all made up of bits. When people made, there's a shop in London called Chandler's who used to make Schecter. So if you've got like a whole Schecter guitar, the chances, and you're in the UK, the chances are it was made there. Either that or it was put together in the shop in, is it California? Somewhere like that. San Dimas, it might be. Somewhere like that. So it took me quite a long time to find one of these. The body I got from my pal, and he was told it was Schecter, but I don't think it is. Normally they've got like a stamp, like a sort of cattle iron branded thing in the neck pocket. This doesn't have it, so I don't think this is a Schecter body. It's just a solid ash thing. Still a nice body. It could be anything though. The scratch plate is the real deal, and so are the pickups. The pots aren't, because I think I put these pots in. Original Schecter Omni pots are incredibly expensive, very difficult to get. These pickups might be called monster tones. I have seen this exact scratch plate with the pickup. Used to be, you could buy like a complete assembly in a box, and someone was selling one. This is a few years ago in America. It was still boxed though, so it was like from the 80s, and it was still boxed, and it was $2,000 just for the scratch plate and the pickups. So I don't know. It's not, as you can see, it's metal. It's not like plastic coated metal. It's solid steel. I'm not sure. It's a wee bit cloudy here where it's been scuffed. I'm scared to. I've got some Silvo there, but I'm scared it takes a coating off or something, so I've just left it. Quite often these have individual switches as opposed to a 5. This has got it's got a 3-way lever on it. Quite often these have got individual switches, like Mark Knopfler's one had individual switches for each one. And on the single coil ones, they were 3-way switches, which are impossible to get if you ever try and get one as well. Like a 3-way with a square shaft on it. Is it shaft it's called? They're almost impossible to get as well. But they had in the middle was off, down was on, and then up was coil tap. And I'm using the word coil tap correctly in this situation. So I'm not sure whether they invented the coil tap, but they were definitely one of the main people that did it. Coil tap is where you've got like a pickup. So it's like it's wrapped 10,000 times round like a pickup is. That's just a number I'm pulling off the top of my head. So there you go, there's your pickup. But what it does is it's got another wee tab on it. So at 6,000 turns, it's got another tab. So when if you choose the tapped version, it taps into the coil. So you're getting a very low output vintage sounding pickup or a full blown pickup. So that's what coil tapping is. This scratch plate didn't work when I got it, so I wired it myself, and I wired it myself about 10 years ago. I think these humbuckers are tapped as well. I'm not sure how that works, but I have seen an advert saying they sell tapped humbuckers. So I'm going to go back into the back of this and see what it is. I seem to remember there's terminals on the back of these pickups that are so it might, like I've never heard of a tapped humbucker apart from in the advert for these. So that would be like a low output. I've got them, they're split just now, so I've got coil splits but coil tap, so it'll be interesting to see when I go into it, see what's in there. The neck I got from eBay, and as you can see it's in a little bit of butchery on the headstock. The guy bought it brand new in Chandler Guitars in 1985, I think he said. He was a session player, and because it was the 80s, he made it a pointy headstock because that's what everyone wanted in the late 80s. He's also sort of scalloped it. See, if you look at it there, you can see it's scalloped along the edge, but it's not fully scalloped. It's only just like where you think it's only that amount that's been scalloped, which is kind of weird, which I suppose means you can get like a better grip on the high E string. It doesn't do anything for any of the other strings, only the high E. So that would have reduced the price of it. Yeah, so that's how I could afford this neck. I have seen Schecter necks from this era go for hundreds of pounds just for the neck. This one wasn't that because I wouldn't pay that for a neck. The tuners are Gotha ones, which I can't remember where they came from, but they were. I did actually buy Schecter ones for it. In fact, they're on this guitar neck here actually. But they do say Schecter on them, but I don't think they're. I think they're modern, like they're your Diamond series tuners. They're not as good as the Gotha ones, so I just left the Gotha ones on. I also put is it called an LSR nut? So the nut's got like wee ball bearings in it, like a fender nut. I actually bought from a shop in, I think it was Memphis or something like that. Back in eBay, they used to, if you spent less than a certain amount, you didn't have any import charges. So I mean, it was only like, I think it was like 15 quid or something. I think over here they're about 40 quid. So I don't think that applies anymore. Yeah, the bridge is a Fishman power bridge, which if you get in order to mix the piezo sound, so it's like an acoustic pickups in the saddles. In order to mix that with magnetic things, you need I can't remember what it's called. It's like a wee circuit board thing, an extra pot, like a wee active circuit thing, which changes the is it impedance, something like that. So you can mix them together. Well, I got the push power and cheap. I always get everything cheap. I got the power bridge, and the wee pot thing that made it work was broken, so it didn't turn out to be as expensive as it should have been. It was actually in a guitar that I bought. I remember buying a guitar that someone had made a right mess of, but it had like this bridge, and it had, I can't remember what kind of pickups were. I think they were sold with the Demarzios or something like that, really expensive pickups. That might have been where these Gotha tuners came from actually, and an Ibanez custom neck on it. The guitar was, someone had spent 500 quid on parts for a guitar and then built it like an idiot, so it played awful. So I got it for like 100 quid or something like that. So I ended up getting all these parts, and then I think I actually ended up on profit by just selling the pickups and keeping the bridge and the tuners and the neck, which I've still never reused. Yeah, so you can't actually mix the acoustic and the electric sounds at the same time. If you stick them both together, you sit there and it's like, even if you put a volume control on each one and try and phase between them, it's like it's impossible to get it so one of them isn't on fully loud. So it's like you sit there and it's like all you can hear is the electric one, all you can hear is the electric one, all you can hear is the acoustic one. It needs that thingy. So I wired this ages ago. I'm probably going to rewire it. So it's actually got a stereo jack on it, and no volume control for the piezo. So if you just got it plugged in normally like I do just now, it's just all magnetic, and it's push-pull pots on every one of them. So if I put the jack half in, so it's only touching the stereo thing, there you go. So not the ideal way of doing it. I designed it. What I had, I used to have in fact I probably still got it, a splitter cable. So it was like a stereo head to this end, and it 2 leads. One you'd stick into the acoustic amp, one you stick into the electric amp. So the volume control doesn't do anything because it's not connected to anything. And it's obviously not ideal half sticking the lead in to make it work. So I think what I might do is I might change the wiring a bit to make it a bit more useful. Yeah, so now if we go into the electric sounds, this is just my clean amp, but it's these are very high output pickups. And this is a middle thing is a tone control for the the neck pickup, and it's also push pull. So it's a coil split, so it's a single coil. Bridge pickup, coil split. Both of them. And this is the thing I'm going to change. This is the volume control pops out to be a phase switch. But what I think I'm going to make it do is I'm going to make the volume control, when you pop it out, it will put it to the acoustic pickup and make the volume control for the acoustic pickup, so I can just switch between them quite easily, rather than having to use the stereo lead and stuff. Actually, thinking about it, I think these two pots are the original pots. It's only the volume pot that I changed. I think these are the original Schecter Rumby pots. That's why they're a wee bit scratchy. Because I would have changed scratchy pots because they're expensive ones I left them. But because I've got the two separate coil splits, I can have humbucker and either one humbucker, both of them humbucker, or both of them single coil. So humbucker in the neck, single in the bridge. Why did I put that stupid thing at the end? Sorry. Single coils. Turned on my Washburn stack in a box pedal, just playing through my Delaney there, and that speaker cabinet. Bridge bucker. volume control for some reason. It seems to be really smooth. Not like strat knobs, they're too tall. Rat pedal. This guitar really wants to be thumped for some reason. Yeah, so what did I forget to say when I was thinking about there? Yeah, so the headstock on this had been pointed off, so I stuck a wee bit of actually it's the same piece of wood that I made the cabinet that you can't see down there out of. It's what's it called? Piranha pine, which has been banned from exports forever, since the 40s or something. The Victorians pure loved it, but you can't get it anymore. So that's what that wee bit there's made of, which I probably shouldn't mention because if I ever try and sell this, that's a pure big no-no. That's like even more banned than Brazilian rosewood. It's like just for that wee extra bit, which doesn't actually quite match the end of it, but I quite like it. It gives it a wee bit of character. I put the Schecter logo on it. I would never put the Schecter logo on it if it wasn't a Schecter neck. It is branded on the back, so it is a real one. It's just that it had been sanded off. I actually did a really good job of it. I don't know. I can't remember how I did it. It looks real. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is the guy I bought this off, as I said, he was a session guitarist who modded it and then obviously wished he hadn't because he would have got hundreds of pounds for it if he hadn't modded it. Instead he got like buttons from me. The only thing he said that I'd probably have heard was there was a Reebok advert which was on during, was it the Commonwealth Games or something like that? It was a big Reebok campaign that he actually used this guitar or this neck on, so it's been famous, and you may have heard it if you were watching. I'm sure he said it was the Commonwealth Games, or is it the theme tune for the Commonwealth Games, the BBC or something like that. So you may have already heard this neck at some point. This was before my guitar. This is before my YouTube channel started doing that, and well long before the Japanese guitar thing started hitting in. I, like everyone, most people think, I assumed that you had to spend a lot of money to get like a good quality gigging guitar. So, you know, you buy like a Westfield or something like that to learn on, and then as soon as you were in a band, you really needed to have like an Epiphone or a decent Squire before to even be worthy of playing along with a drum kit. And then if you wanted to be gigging, you needed to have a Gibson or an American Fender. So that was my thinking, and that was the thinking back in the day. And I used to make guitars myself because I couldn't afford to buy them. So that's how I made these, and I suppose I didn't technically make this, but I put it together out of parts just to try and then probably a wee bit after that, I just happened to buy a Hondo Telecaster in cash converters in Glasgow. I think it was 40 quid or 30 quid. I think it was 40 quid. And it's just because I liked the look of it. And I remember I was looking at this and I remember sitting there and it was like, pure, if it had been 30 quid I would have bought it immediately. If it had been 50 quid I would have walked away. I think it was 30 quid. It was, because I remember telling the guy in the shop, I was like, you've priced it so well, because at 20 quid I would have totally bought it. At 40 quid I wouldn't even have looked at it, because it's 30, it's like right on the edge of what I could do with it. The nut was hanging off it, because it had a pointy headstock, which was obviously a bad thing. The nut was hanging off, so I couldn't actually play it in the shop. I could only feel how nice it was. And I remember going outside, I said to the guy, could you hold it for 5 minutes? I'm going to go out and have a fag and think about it. So I went out and had a fag, walked across the road and looked in the window of Guitar, and they had a Fender Badger Telecaster for 750 quid. And the Hondo looked better. It was made of a nicer wood. It looked like a nicer guitar. So I went back and bought it. Got it home, fixed the nut, and it was just like, fuck, you can actually pick up a really good guitar for peanuts if you're willing to buy one that's got a stupid pointy headstock or something undesirable about it, and it's a make you've never heard of. So that was really my start into realising that you can pick up really nice guitars cheap if you go off the beaten track and avoid Fenders, Gibsons, Epiphone, Squires, because everyone knows what they are, so they sell for X amount of money. eBay was definitely kicking about at the time. I don't think I had a computer. I think I used to use my dad's for looking up stuff. I used to look up Schecters because I had the Schecter P-Bass, which I loved, and I bought just by accident, just because it played nice. No idea any information about it or what it was. No, in fact, it was American or anything like that. And then I remember looking up Schecter Strats, and these would occasionally pop up for a couple of grand. When I say these, I mean like all the parts Schecter. But in saying that, when Chandler was making them, doesn't necessarily, just because it's a Schecter neck and a Schecter body, doesn't necessarily mean that's what they would put on. You know, you could maybe put some other type of bridge on it, or they could maybe put some other type of tuner on it, because it was getting built from parts anyway. So, but Yeah. So if you have good luck trying to find a Schecter. They were called a dream machine after this era. I've got, when I do my Telecaster Tuesday, which I'm going to do on Monday night, I will eventually work up to my favourite Schecter, which is a Telecaster which I got, which matches my P-Bass exactly, which I basically, what turned me on to Telecasters really. This is before I bought that Hondo Telecaster. I remember I only went to look at it because it was Schecter and it was the same colour as my bass, and I thought, well, I'll go and look at it. It was a guy and guy, and I ended up buying it. I ended up playing it, and it was the best guitar in the universe. So I ended up with that. And then obviously the next thing was to get a Schecter Strat. I wanted one that was the same colour as the bass, but I guess one day I might get the right body colour. But I quite like this sort of all silver metally. I mean, even I remember having to buy the switch tip and the tip for the tremolo bar on eBay from China just to get so everything was silver. It was just like, yeah, that's fun. It's quite a clubby neck, but because these were Fender licensed parts, it will be a Fender neck profile. It'll be like a 50s one or something like that. Keith Richards famously used to have a Schecter Telecaster bridge, because Telecasters in the mid 70s they still had the 3 saddles. You didn't get the 6 saddle bridges, so if you wanted one of them you had to, Schecter made them. So it's like a Schecter bridge that's on, I think it's actually called Malcolm, Keith Richards Telecaster. He's got one called Malcolm Eddie. They were upgraded to Schecter bridges, and it was quite common to. Pete Townsend used to play a Schecter Tele as well, hence the PT model, which was never endorsed by him. And PT doesn't stand for Pete Townsend. Honestly, it stands for something that isn't Pete Townsend. Those were made by Chandler's as well, so the same place that this came from. Sorry, my pal Alan suggested that I play War Pigs for my 1000th episode, and I completely forgot about that until right now. Not that I'm particularly good at War Pigs. I'm kind of used to playing the bass now because I'm in After the End Black Sabbath band. Check us out on YouTube. We've only done one gig. We had other gigs organised, and then this whole virus shit kicked off. Yeah, so again, thanks for the 1,000 people who watch these things for some reason. Probably just because they're really bored, stuck in the house just now. And this is my Schecter stratocaster. So I might come back to this if I rewire the pickup and work out some way of getting the acoustic bridge to work. I was never really, the thing, you've seen my double neck acoustic Telecaster, which has got like an acoustic and an electric neck, which was kind of getting around the point of, I was already aware of how this worked. It's like, if you've got an electric guitar with an acoustic bridge in it, The acoustic bridge itself does sound fantastically like an acoustic, but you've got electric strings on your electric guitar, and you're playing through an electric guitar amp. So really what you want is acoustic strings on your guitar, and then play through an acoustic amp, and it'll sound exactly like an acoustic, but it goes the other way around. So then if you switch to the electric, you're now playing acoustic strings through an acoustic amp when you're playing an electric guitar, which isn't going to work either. So that was why I made a 2-neck one, which is just so you can just have an acoustic neck, acoustic strings, acoustic pickup, go into an acoustic amp, and then electric neck, electric pickup, electric amp, and then some sort of switch to switch between them on the floor. Just something simple, just invent. But I mean, the concept does sort of work. I mean, as you can hear, it does. Obviously, having it half plugged in is not the way to do these things. And also having the rack pedal is not the way to do these things. But it definitely does sound acoustic-y. Even just buy the actual, bite the bullet and actually buy the proper Fishman, I can't remember what it's called, the other part of the bridge and then the Fishman compensator, equalizer, EQ thing, which means that you can just have both pick up the acoustic and the electric on and mix between them without all the problems that I had before. And is it worthwhile scalloping the top 2 fret, the high E string? It does sort of make it a little bit smoother to get at the strings, but equally it makes the frets, when you slide your hand up, it makes it, because they're now going woo, 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 you know, past each fret, it makes it feel very lumpy. This guitar, I'd imagine being an expensive one, it probably used to have an amazing fret job on it. It just seems to be a bit. I did have to. It'd obviously been stoned at some point before I got it. The frets were all square, so actually last night I looked this out and then I crowned them all so they're all good, and it's playing better than it ever has before. I now know what it sounds like when your frets are too flat. It's kind of like a sort of spanky sound. Not necessarily bad. I mean, I still like this guitar because it was such a good one, but once you've realised what it is, it actually did. I did exactly the same thing with the Falcon. It was the same. It said its frets levelled at some point in the past, so I went through it the other day and then made the frets so there's less contact point along the top of them. Makes a huge difference. Sorry about the big long video. I'll try and do some shorter videos from now on. Well, I'll say that and then just end up talking pish anyway. But there you go. Rock and roll!